evening. Thank you for joining us. This is the news at 7 on 90 International. We're live in Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguelen. Let's start by bringing you the headlines. Federal government approves $3.02 billion contract for rehabilitation and reconstruction of Port Harcourt to Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway. Governor of Kaduna State appoints new emir for Zazzau Emirate. And nations, officials and world leaders appeal for urgent action on biodiversity conservation at Biodiversity Summit in New York. All right, let's start by telling you that the federal government has approved a $3.02 billion contract for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway, as well as the construction of new branch lines and transshipment facilities. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, announced this while briefing journalists after the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has these details and other things that played out at the Federal Executive Council.
About 10 memoranda from ministries, departments and agencies were considered and approved at the council meeting, the 18th, to be held virtually in the new normal. Apart from the $3.02 billion contract for the reconstruction of the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway, the council also approved the construction of a deep sea port in Boni, as well as a railway industrial park, Port Harcourt.
The industrial park will cost $389.31 million. Then the Bonny Deep Sea Port will cost $369 million at no cost to the federal government. I want to repeat that.
Contract has also been approved for the procurement and installation of desired equipment for the Automotive Mechatronic Training Center facilities in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and the FCT, as well as a free pilot workshop automotive service hub for the National Automotive Design and Development Council.
The Automotive Development and Design Council has recorded a lot of success in bringing back assembly and manufacturing operations in the automotive sector. As a result of this, the proposed training centers will not only train Nigerians to maintain and service vehicles, but will also ensure that avoidable disasters arising from lack of skills by our teaming youth are prevented through periodic training and empowerment at an affordable cost.
Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola also secured approval for the full business case for the design, finance, upgrade, operate and transfer of the Nigerian Correctional Service shoe, garment and leather processing factories in Aba, Abia State, as well as Janguza, Kano State. It is a private-public partnership investment valued at over 5.1 billion naira.
When the partnership comes into effect, the benefit is enormous. About 1,230 people will have direct employment, while about 3,000 people will have indirect employment. Besides the employment of Nigerians is the opportunity for training of the inmates of our correctional facilities in Janguza, Kano State, and Aba in Abia State.
Also, on behalf of the Minister for Works and Housing, I want to report that his memo for the completion of the rehabilitation of the Abeokuta-Ibadan Road, a distance of 72 kilometers, was approved today. It's actually it was a memo asking for augmentation by 788 million naira.
Another contract for the final design of engineering infrastructure and production of tender documents for Kabusa District Phase 3 has also been approved for the FCT at 183.7 million naira. 654 million naira is also to be expended by the Ministry of Aviation for the rehabilitation of screening machines at the various airports in the country to conform with the new normal.
The SGF, on behalf of Mr. President, also presented a memo which was approved seeking Council's approval for the purchase of 21 operational vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps so that we can stop the carnage on our roads.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy has been given the go-ahead for the deployment of hybrid spectrum monitoring system in the southeast geopolitical zone of the country.
Within the period of 8 months or thereabout, we carried out a monitoring where we discover 320 frequencies being used all over the country, and 106 were illegal. This is very worrisome because the usage of illegal spectrum or frequencies will compromise our security and safety in the country.
The monitoring exercise, the minister explained, did not cover the southeast geopolitical zone of the country, hence the request of 653.8 million naira to do so in line with the Buhari administration's commitment towards enhancing revenue generation and job creation, as well as promoting safety and security across Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
To the legislature now, the Senate has approved the 2021-2023 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. The consideration of the document followed the submission of the report of Senate Joint Committee on Finance and National Planning, which proposes federal government's 2021 budget total expenditure of 13.08 trillion naira at 1.86 million barrels per day, exchange rate of 379 naira to a dollar, and oil benchmark of $40 per barrel. Senate is to investigate alleged cases of brutality by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The motion by Senator Oluremi Tinubu said also called on the National Human Rights Commission to investigate accompanying human rights abuses and for security agencies to establish a special bureau for the monitoring and sanctioning of the activities of erring members. It also commended the Inspector General of Police for his swift reaction to some of the latest reported cases of brutality by the operatives by redefining their duties and not necessarily to scrap the units. The legislators insist on the arrest and prosecution of those involved in the latest incidents. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, announced that the presentation of the 2021 budget by President Muhammadu Buhari will be devoid of the usual large number of government officials that usually accompany such exercise. This is in line with the COVID-19 safety measures. In a related development, the Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the presentation of the 2021 appropriation bill to a joint session of the National Assembly will be in compliance with the COVID-19 protocols. While reading the President's communication on the budget presentation to the lawmakers during a plenary on Wednesday, the Speaker says the presentation will be abridged to ensure conclusion of the exercise within an hour or less. Meanwhile, the House has adopted a motion from House Leader Alhassan Ado Dogwa on the need to put a stop to alleged dehumanizing activities of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police Force. The Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the House will work with the Nigeria Bar Association, civil society organizations, and other Nigerians to draft a new law that provides a system of accountability and hold erring members of the police to account. To other pressing issues, the Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, has approved the appointment of Alhaji Ahmed Nuhu Bamali as the 19th Emir of Zazzau. In a statement, the Emir succeeded Dr. Shehu Idris, who died on Sunday, 20th September 2020, after reigning for 45 years. Alhaji Bamali is the first Emir from the Malawa ruling house in 100 years, following the demise in 1920 of his grandfather, Emir Dansidi. Until his appointment as Emir of Zazzau, Alhaji Ahmed Nuhu Bamali held the title of Magajin Garin Zazzau and served as Nigeria's ambassador to Thailand with concurrent accreditation to Myanmar. He has been a permanent commissioner in the Kaduna State Independent Electoral Commission in 2015. He has worked in banking and as executive director and later acting managing director of the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Corporation. He was a staff of the Abuja Metropolitan Management Agency before a stint as head of human resources at MTEL, the mobile communications arm of the old Nigerian Telecommunications Limited, that is NITEL. Born in 1966, Alhaji Bamali studied law at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He holds a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy and a diploma in organizational leadership from Oxford University. He is also a fellow on conflict resolution of the University of New York, United Kingdom. On behalf of the Kaduna State Government, Malam Nasser Erufai has congratulated His Royal Highness Alhaji Ahmed Nuhu Bamali on his appointment and wished him a successful and peaceful reign as Emir of Zazzau. Similarly, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated the new Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, and advised him to be a leader for all. The President, in a statement by Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, felicitates with the new Emir for making history as the first Emir from Malawa ruling house in 100 years. He urged him to use the opportunity to unite all members of the ruling houses. The COVID-19 pandemic has no doubt stretched the survival capacity of many rural communities to the limit. While government has rolled out various interventions for the populace, many organizations are also standing up to be countered. Calvin Ahunwa here reports that the ECOWAS Commission Women Forum is one of the latest groups to identify with rural dwellers at Paduma community in the Federal Capital Territory.
Residents of Paduma community, Asokoro extension in the FCT, are mainly peasants and artisans with limited income. With the COVID-19 pandemic, eking out a living is now more difficult.
It's really difficult, but we thank God. At least you can see we are surviving.
So one can understand their excitement when they saw a delegation of the ECOWAS Commission Women Forum with this palliative meant to lessen their burden.
It's not easy at all. We don't suffer. People are bringing things for us, but we never see this kind of thing before.
Go and share it individual, tribe by tribe.
The community received bags of rice, gari, onions, noodles, tubers of yam, clothing and grinding machines as empowerment for the women.
Tell the community that they have not been forgotten, and that yes, a lot of people rushed to give palliatives at the point of COVID, which was fantastic, but we know that this is when the people also need assistance of this kind.
To ensure that this intervention is not just a drop in the ocean, the ECOWAS Commission Women Forum is working out a collaborative mechanism with relevant groups and agencies to put in place a post-COVID-19 economic plan for the residents of Paduma community. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
Let's look at electoral matters. President Muhammadu Buhari says all necessary measures have been put in place to ensure that the October 10 gubernatorial election in Ondo State is peaceful, transparent and credible. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, President Buhari also assured the electorate in Ondo State of the provision of adequate security to forestall any breach of the peace by unscrupulous elements. In a video message to party supporters at the grand finale of the All Progressives Congress campaign for the Ondo governorship election, the president urged the electorate to turn out en masse to vote on Saturday without fear of molestation. The president said he is delighted by Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu's ingenious approach to governance and urged the electorate in Ondo to vote for continuity and progress. Still on electoral matters, but on the foreign scene, with election day less than a month away, many Americans have voted early or voted by mail, and many more are expected to do so between now and November 3. Former Vice President and Democratic candidate Joe Biden has been campaigning in the swing state of Florida, while President Donald Trump, who is recovering from COVID-19, has vowed to be back on the campaign trail soon.
Don't let it take over your lives. Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led.
They matter. It matters. It saves lives. It prevents the spread of the disease. Social distancing. Instead of talking about what the only thing I heard was one of the tweets saying that, you know, don't be so concerned about all this, essentially. There's a lot to be concerned about. 210,000 people have died.
All right, let's go on a break. We're back. Stay tuned. For staying tuned, top aide to President Donald Trump test positive for COVID-19 as the White House outbreak increases and new restrictions come into force in Europe. Joyce Ametu brings us a global update on COVID-19.
A growing number of White House staff and senior Republicans have tested positive for COVID-19 since President Trump revealed that he had contracted the disease. So far, 19 persons are reported to have been infected, the latest being the White House top aide Stephen Miller and a top military official. Meanwhile, Democratic candidate Joe Biden says the next presidential debate should not take place if President Trump still has COVID-19. As new cases rise rapidly across Europe, new coronavirus restrictions are coming into force. In Brussels, all bars, cafes and event halls are to shut down for at least 1 month. Officials say 1 out of 7 coronavirus tests comes out positive in the Belgian capital. And Italy has made it mandatory to wear face coverings outdoors in an effort to reduce rising COVID-19 infections. The Italian cabinet has also approved a decree to extend the COVID-19 state of emergency to January 31, 2021. Record by Worldometer shows that 36,135,060 cases of coronavirus has been confirmed globally, with 1,056,217 fatalities and 27,214,138 patients recovered. The African continent has seen 1,538,110 cases, out of which 36,939 deaths are recorded. In Nigeria, no new COVID-19 related deaths have been reported in the past 3 days. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control said the total number of cases confirmed in the country has risen to 59,583, while the fatality figure remains 1,113. Recoveries stand at 51,308. And that's a global update on COVID-19. I am Joyce Ometu.
All right, away from COVID updates, senior United Nations officials and world leaders have appealed for urgent action on biodiversity conservation. This was at the UN Biodiversity Summit in New York. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports. Okay, that report is not ready. We'll bring that in our subsequent bulletin. But let's move on to other issues. Issues of labor relations in Nigeria's developing economy, orders of court restraining workers' fundamental rights to protest over unfavorable government policies and negotiations dominated discussions at a lecture on dignity of labor and labor justice. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chumuba reports that the lecture was organized by the National Industrial Court in Abuja as part of activities to celebrate the new legal year.
The socioeconomic implications of labor disputes are enormous and impact negatively on government achievements, resulting in loss of resources and low national productivity. Negotiations to address areas of differences have always been a preferred option. Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Reverend Matthew Coker, who spoke on labor dignity and labor justice, asked leaders to do away with discriminatory tendencies and work for justice and development.
Labor justice should not be seen as something that trade unionists secure for their fellow workers as members of a special club. Labor justice is something that is available to all of us because we are all created in the image and likeness of God. Labor justice is what makes us one another's keepers.
NLC President Ayuba Waba expressed displeasure over orders of the National Industrial Court.
I think the NIC should not also continue to give orders to actually limit the exercise of citizens' rights.
President, National Industrial Court, Justice Benedict Kaipe, said as a specialized court, it will continue to uphold the dictates of labor justice in line with the principles of flexibility and speed.
I'm not happy that labor dispute terms of resolution and arbitration will be on to our main sources now is how to and do as many cases as possible.
Chief Justice of Nigeria, represented by Justice Uwani Abaji, commended the judiciary for keeping the wheel of justice rolling. Former President of the court, Justice Babatunde Adejumo, asked the judges to continue to dispense justice according to law. In Abuja, Viera Chumuba, NTA News.
All right, the report we called earlier on Ongar biodiversity conservation, it's now ready. Let's take it.
Records show that every year, about 13 million hectares of forest are lost due to deforestation. 1 million species are at risk of extinction. And in the last 50 years, vertebrates have declined by 68%. President of the 75th session of the UN General Assembly, Volkan Bozkır, said, human beings' existence on Earth depends entirely on its ability to protect the environment, and appealed for a greener recovery from the COVID-19 outbreak to create a greener global economy.
If we continue down this path, we not only lose the beautiful riches of the world around us, but jeopardize food security, water supplies, livelihoods, and our ability to fight diseases and face extreme events.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also sues for greater ambition to reverse biodiversity loss and create a better environment for generations to come.
10 years ago, we secured commitments that should have protected our planet. We have largely failed. Nature is resilient, and it can recover if we ease our relentless assault.
Leaders from more than 100 countries, regions, and international organizations at the Biodiversity Summit agreed to set the goals of the post-2020 biodiversity framework and the means to achieve it. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
A look at other issues. The US-based International Center for Settlement of Investment Dispute, headed by Professor William Park, ordered Interocean to pay the federal government of Nigeria $660,129 United States dollars and 87 cents as reimbursement of its share of the arbitration cost incurred in the proceedings. In a statement, Special Assistant on Media and Public Relations, Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Dr. Umar Jibrilu Gwandu, says the tribunal also absolves the federal government of Nigeria from any liability, maintaining that Nigeria did not breach any of its obligations in the contract agreement with Interocean Development Company and Interocean Oil Exploration Company. The oil companies that has among its legal team Mr. Olusegun Shashore SAN requested, among others, relief from the tribunal directing the federal government of Nigeria, its relevant privies and instrumentalities to pay aggravated damages in an amount to be proven during these arbitral proceedings, which the claimants estimate at being in excess of $1.5 billion. All right, that's it. Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office, IPTO, personnel of universities and research establishments across the country can now seamlessly and effectively collaborate and share experiences to improve the nation's culture of intellectual property protection. Now, this comes as the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion trains IPTO coordinators nationwide to enable them key into the newly established platform and database for information sharing. Let's get more details from Justin Bemunyi.
Realizing that the country has a weak culture of protecting intellectual property rights, NOTAP, in collaboration with the World Intellectual Property Organization, established Intellectual Property Technology Transfer Offices, IPTTO, in universities and research institutes to have an on-the-spot promotion of identification and protection of research findings. Now, with the COVID-19 ravaging the world, NOTAP has developed a platform to virtually bring together these officers and coordinators of IPTTO across Nigerian universities and research institutions to build an interactive avenue to facilitate access and synergy among these officers.
Yeah, and there has been significant improvement, honestly. Patent requests have already started coming, increasingly becoming prominent in their activities. So the essence is, yes, when they are doing their jobs, you need to also improve on their performances.
The issue of patenting has really been a major challenge. You see, some don't really know how to file in this patent form and how to take their innovations for patenting. So this training is also going to help and equip the directors on how to go about the patenting.
NOTAP is impressed that reports of 2019 indicated a 65% of patent certificates issued in Nigeria came through the agency, and this is an indication their intervention and efforts to promote the protection of intellectual property in the country is working. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
That's the news, but before we go, remember to connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. I'm Ruth Aguele. Bye.